All right. It's 7:01, so we'll go ahead and get started. I now call the June 6th, 2023 regular meeting of the City Council to order. Our invocation this evening is going to be given by Pastor Raul Maya from Centros Cristiano Bethel. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to see you.
That makes sense. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for allowing me to be here, and just want to thank you all for your service for our community, our country, and I want to thank God for our lives. So let us pray. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Father, for this opportunity that you have given us to be here. Thank you for peace. We thank you for love. We thank you for your mercy, and I thank you for everyone in this place this evening. I thank you for our nation, our community, Lord. Thank you for our government. Thank you for justice. Thank you for freedom, that we can sit here, Lord, and just be at freedom. We thank you for this time, and I pray that you would guide every single person, everything that is going to be talked, everything is going to be spoken. May you guide this community, guide the leaders of this community. May you bless them, and may your face shine upon them. May your countenance be upon each and one of them, and bless them with peace. And I thank you, and I ask you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Hoffman, if you can please take roll.
Ms. Nicely? Present. Mr. Cahill? Ms. Kyle?
Here.
Mr. Skidmore?
Here.
Mr. Hermes?
Here.
Ms. Skidmore?
Here.
Ms. Reckers?
Here.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Here.
Ms. Wilson?
All right, thank you. You've received a copy of the minutes for the May 2nd, 2023 regular council meeting and the May 16th, 2023 special council meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to be made at this time? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adopt as presented. Ms. Kyle, Ms. Reckers, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. You guys have the agenda in front of you for tonight's meeting. I was wondering if we could make a change. Can we please bring up the two pieces of legislation, the number 10 and number 11, the two municipal orders, the city administrator appointment and the director of public works appointment. Just because we have family members and
Where would you like to move them up to?
do you mind if we bring them up to special presentations? Mr. Eckers?
PDS is waiting too. I'm just saying.
Oh, do you want me to bring that up as well?
Bring it up.
Okay. All right, we can do that. Brilliant. All right, so we're going to bring up legislation number 10, 11,
3 through 7.
and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Yep. Brilliant. I love it. Efficiency. All right. Do I entertain a motion that we make those changes? Ms. Kyle, Ms. Nicely. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we'll go ahead, and the first special presentation this evening was requested by Councilwoman Wilson, so thank you very much. To all to whom these presents shall come, whereas on June 19th, 1865, Major General Gordon Granger announced in Galveston, Texas, the end of the Civil War and slavery. Celebration of this freedom was named Juneteenth. Community events such as parades, cookouts, prayer gatherings, and historical cultural readings were held. As families immigrated from Texas to Kentucky and other parts of the United States, traditions and Juneteenth celebrations carried throughout. Today, we educate and promote self-development while adding our own traditions. Kentucky approved the annual observance of Juneteenth National Freedom Day on March 11, 2005, encouraging all Kentuckians to recognize the significant roles that African Americans have played in our history. The City of Erlanger joins other cities in the Commonwealth and invites all residents to honor and celebrate Juneteenth National Freedom Day. Now, therefore, I, Jessica Fetty, Mayor of the City of Erlanger, Kenton County, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim June 19th, 2023 to be Juneteenth National Freedom Day in Erlanger, and do commend this observance to all our citizens, given under my hand and the seal of the City of Erlanger on this day, June 6th, 2023. Thank you. All right. Next special presentation is our municipal order of the city administrator appointment.
All right, this is a municipal order, This is a municipal order of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, approving the mayor's appointment of Peter Glenn as city administrator pursuant to KRS 83A-080, subsection 3, effective June 7th, 2023. As indicated, the KRS 83A-080 and Section 3301 of the Erlanger Code of Ordinances provide for the non-elected position of city administrator for the City of Erlanger. Former city administrator Bill Wolfeck resigned March 2023, creating this vacancy. Again, this puts in Peter Glenn as the city administrator.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Ms. Kyle, Ms. Reckers, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations. We're going to take a moment and we're going to give him his oath. Okay? We can do that?
Sure, you can do whatever you want. You're in charge, Mayor.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Within certain limits. But we're good with the oath, okay?
Okay, all right,
we're
good.
This is my daughter, Paxton Ann, and my son, Peter Michael.
All right. So you'll say your name. I
Peter Glenn,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky so long as I continue a citizen thereof, and that I will faithfully execute, to the best of my ability, the office of City Administrator, according to law. And I do further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, I, being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state, nor out of it, nor have I sent a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending. So help me God. I do. Congratulations.
thanks for everything.
I'm going to try to hold it together. So Peter Glenn has been such a transformational leader within our organization. He came into the Public Works Department and truly changed it from the ground up. His emphasis on building a stronger team and really investing in every single employee, and from the leadership skills that you have instilled upon your team in Public Works. I can't wait to see what you do for the entire city. I know personally I am a better human being because I know you. And I appreciate everything that you have done for our city and everything that you will do. I'm very much looking forward to. So thank you.
I guess I'll say a couple of things. I actually had nothing prepared to say, so it will be brief. But I appreciate that. The pressure's on, right? You know, that's a pretty good statement to have someone say about you, and I certainly appreciate it. And I certainly appreciate the support from council that I've had over the last 5 years, and look forward to having, you know, here in the future. I look forward to everybody that I'll be working with. You know, I'm very excited to take on this responsibility, and you know, transformational. That's really, you know, that's what it's all about. And, you know, and I can't wait to, you know, really dig in and start, you know, figuring things out and putting my stamp on things, and hopefully, you know, do the job that everybody expects of me. So again, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
All right. Next item is legislative number 11.
So, Municipal Order of the City of Erlanger and Kenton County, Kentucky, approving the mayor's appointment of Kevin Quinn as the Director of Public Works pursuant to KRS 83A 080 subsection 3, effective June 7th, 2023. Again, this position was open when Mr. Glenn was put in as interim and now has been put in as permanent. City Administrator, this puts Kevin Quinn in as the Public Works Director.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Mr. Hermes, Ms. Nicely. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Congratulations, Mr. Quinn. We don't have to do an oath. You don't have to, you can still fight duels if you really want to. Peter, do you want to say anything about that?
Okay, I get to speak some more. Wow, this is really unexpected, but awesome. Where do you start talking about when you talk about Kevin? You know, when I got here, it was, I quickly recognized Kevin as, you know, the asset that he is to the city. Of course, he's a city resident, and it shows. He's one that extremely cares about this city, and it shows. And I always enjoyed, I mean, as my wife can contest to, we have spent, and Kevin's wife as well, how many nights we have spent here late just talking about the city and work and how to do things and how to do things better. And as much as I like sitting around and talking about that and putting in the time and effort, so does Kevin. You know, so it's been such a joy. Well, actually, it's benefited me as well, you know. So all the time I spent, you know, with Kevin and everything like that, you know, it's come back, you know, tenfold, and him making the department and myself look good, you know, and just absolutely loved having him, you know, rise up through the ranks and now be the director. I'm really looking forward to it. Well deserved.
4 through 7. You got it.
Kind of echoing what the mayor said, you know, Peter came in and his leadership and his mentoring with me and with the rest of the team it was very special. We had a lot, like he said, we had a lot of evenings, not just talking about work, but just life. And it was just great conversation. And I'm sure I kept him out later than you wanted, and same with my wife, so as he said, but it's been great. But you know, there's a few people I do want to thank. I want to thank Rick Bogart for hiring me almost 11 years ago. I want to thank my wife. I think she actually filled out my application when I applied here. And of course, the rest of my family. I do care deeply for this city. I've been a resident since I was 7 years old. I can't imagine living anywhere else. When my job took me to Lexington, when I was still at the airport, I hated not being here. And I do think that God has put me here for a reason. So I look forward to this challenge. I look forward to working with some great people still. I've got a great team behind me. The guys I work with every day, I owe them something too. They brought me in. When I came in, I started ground level, and they brought me in and taught me a lot of things, and I just appreciate the opportunity and the chance to make this city better. So thank you.
What a wonderful day. Thank you all. Okay, number 3.
Ms. Hoffman has correctly identified that we're at number 4 and not number 3. So ordinance number 4, which is an ordinance of the City of Erlanger, Kentucky, repealing Chapter 44 of Erlanger Code regarding boards and commissions. What is struck through is what is being deleted. What is underlined is what is being added. This is, in essence, deleting the current Erlanger Code Enforcement Board, which is the first step before we pass the rest of the ordinances, which will create the ordinances necessary for PDS and the Kenton County Joint Code Enforcement Board. This is the second reading.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this ordinance as read? Ms. Kyle, Ms. Reckers, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Skidmore? Can you repeat, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reckers?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Nicely?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kyle?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hermes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, motion carried.
All right, next we have an ordinance of the City of Erlanger, Kentucky, adopting an updated Chapter 44 of the City of Erlanger Code. This is the companion ordinance. First ordinance took away the Erlanger Code Enforcement Board. This creates Erlanger's membership in the Kenton County Joint Code Enforcement Board and provides all of the appellate rules and all of the rights as it relates to liens, ordinance fine schedules, hearings, and whatnot for that Joint Kenton County Code Enforcement Board. Also a second reading.
Do I entertain a motion that we adopt this ordinance as read? Ms. Jasper Lucas, Ms. Reckers, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hermes?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Skidmore? Ms. Kyle?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Nicely?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reckers?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carried.
All right, next we have ordinance amending Section 104 of the Erlanger Code of Ordinances related to enforcement procedures. As a refresher, Section 104 of our code is more or less our nuisance ordinance and deals with different code enforcement issues. The only changes that are being made to this are in the penalty section at the end. You can see that the fines are being reduced from $500, $750, and $1,000 to $200, $400, and $800, and that is to be consistent with the Kenton County Joint Code Enforcement Board. And the second change is to delete the criminal offenses. It was frankly not something that we've utilized here in Erlanger in a very, very long time, and again, it's consistent with the penalty provisions by the Kenton County Joint Code Enforcement Board.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this ordinance as read? Ms. Reckers, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Kyle,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Skidmore,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hermes,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Reckers,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Nicely,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Wilson.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carried.
All right, finally, we have an ordinance of the City of Erlanger and Kenton County, Kentucky adopting an amended interlocal agreement between the Kenton County Fiscal Court and the cities of Romley, Crescent Springs, Crestview Hills, Edgewood, Ellesmere, Fort Wright, Independence, Kentonvale, Lakeside Park, Ludlow, Park Hills, Ryland Heights, Taylor Mill, and Villa Hills for code enforcement in Kenton County, Kentucky. There is a attached interlocal agreement, which is the interlocal agreement between all of those member cities, which are all a part of the Joint Code Enforcement Board. And this ordinance authorizes the mayor to enter into that interlocal agreement to have the Kenton County Joint Code Enforcement Board provide services to us.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this ordinance as read? Ms. Kyle, Ms. Reckers, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Miss Kyle,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Skidmore,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hermes,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Reckers,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Nicely,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Wilson,
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Jasper Lucas.
Yes, ma'am. All right, motion carried. Congratulations. I'm so excited. No speech? Oh, come on. No, this is, I think this is a very momentous occasion for the city of Erlanger to now be fully engaged in PDS is something that I think has been a goal of ours for a long time. And, you know, all the stars aligned and just worked out the way that it did. A few hurdles along the way, but I think the outcome is fantastic. And I'm so blessed to work with the wonderful team at PDS on a regular basis on the management board and now with the city of Erlanger. So thank you. Ms. Nicely?
I just want to say something
Oh,
shortly.
you,
You all run a fabulous department. With my business, I get in touch with you all a lot with permitting and stuff with PDS, and I'm looking forward to the city working with you because I think it's fabulous, and you all run a good department there. Thank you for everything you do.
all right. All right. That concludes our special presentations. Thank you all. You can go. You don't have to stay. That was really wise. Yeah, you all need to stay. All right. Next. Oh, Rob. You're. How awesome. I know. Are you going to be here every month? Thank you so much. Okay, first name on the agenda is Serena Owen. And if you can state your name and your address, please.
Okay. Greetings, Mayor, Council, all who live in and serve this beautiful city of Erlanger, Kentucky. I am Serena Owen. I'm a councilwoman, actually, in our sister city of Ellesmere, but I'm also a parent, a family member, and a supporter of businesses here within the city of Erlanger, and I love you all. So thank you so much to First Councilwoman Wilson for requesting a Juneteenth proclamation. Greatly appreciate that. I'm a part of the Northern Kentucky Juneteenth Committee, and we've been preparing this great celebration. It's a freedom celebration for African Americans from slavery, and we greatly appreciate the support of the city of Erlanger. And so I want to thank the Mayor Fetty, for creating and presenting a proclamation honoring and celebrating Juneteenth. Also wanted to thank Councilwoman Wilson and the City of Erlanger for renewing the Diversity and Inclusion Task Force. It is a blessing. We were both on the task force last year, a year ago, and I want to thank the council for renewing that task force. It is a blessing and much needed initiative within the city and within this community, because really the cities of Erlanger and Ellesmere, we do a lot. We have a lot in common, and we join forces all of the time, and we eat, work, live, and play, and in the same vicinity. So we're really extended family. So thank you so much for that. The last meeting was awesome, and really appreciate this much needed initiative. So last but not least, wanted to extend a special invitation to all of the Erlanger leaders, as well as those who live and also serve within the city of Ellesmere, to join us in our Erlanger and Ellesmere Juneteenth celebration. So we are having, it's like a weekend-long celebration. On Friday, it starts in Newport, and so they kind of have their own celebration, but we're also helping with that. So they'll have music, vendors, giveaways, and things like that at the African American Museum in Newport, and that starts about 6 o'clock that evening on Friday, June the 16th, and on Saturday, June the 17th, we're going to have a celebration in Covington, Kentucky, that starts at the Lincoln Grant Scholar House, and we'll have a parade that goes down to the Covington Landing. So even though we live here in the Erlanger-Ellesmere area, you're still invited to bring your banners. If you're a business owner, or if the city would like to bring the banner and march in the parade down to Covington Landing, you are welcome to do so. And so we invite you to that day-long celebration. We're going to honor folks at 11, and then we're also, going to have music and continue the celebration with vendors and giveaways right across from the Freedom Center, right there on Covington Landing. Then on Sunday, we're bringing it on home, and we're going to start a parade at the Ellesmere City Building. So I invite you to come see our new city building on Dixie Highway, and we'll have a parade. So again, want to extend a special invitation to the city of Erlanger to bring your banners, bring your cars, signs, and come and march in the parade with us from the Ellesmere City Building to First Baptist Church of Ellesmere on Garvey Avenue, and then join with us in worship, and we're going to have free dinner. Our police and fire, department will also be there, and the city will also be there. So we would love to have you there. Again, we're in sister cities, we're extended family, so we would love to have you there. And you can have a booth and everything. So extending a special invitation, and that celebration is going to last until about 4 or 5 p.m. on Sunday, June the 18th. So we'd love to have you. And yes, I'm playing hooky. I have to make it over to my city council, my caucus meeting, but I really appreciate you all. So thank you very much. And look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the sign-in sheet is Bill Croyle. If you could state your name and your address, please.
Sure. My name is Bill Croyle. I'm at 3927 Fawn Ridge Court in Trails of Doe Run. this has been such a positive meeting, and I'm such a positive person, and I'm about to put a damper on it. I apologize for that. I lived in Northern Kentucky for 31 years, 30 of them in Erlanger. I love this city. I'm grateful for all that you all do, and I appreciate your service and allowing me to speak tonight. I want to inform you of a situation in the Trails of Doe Run and Lakemont, and it's something you may not know about. Our police are trying to address it. We're very grateful for what they've done so far, but my neighbors and I just want to make sure that all of you know about it. The story's long and dramatic, but for the sake of time, I'll give you a condensed version. I've put it to one page. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. At 2:30 in the morning on Friday, April 7th, this was 2 days before Easter, I heard a loud banging noise from behind my house, and I spotted 3 teenagers running away from the house. I figured they were flipping garbage cans, just being kids. I wasn't too concerned about it, but I did watch them. And I followed them around through the windows of my house. They headed west on Doe Ridge. They turned left on our street on Fawn Ridge, and they went to my neighbor's house across the street and stood in his driveway. There were 3 kids. One was standing against the garage door, facing it. The other one was standing against the front door, facing it. And the third was at the bottom of the driveway. I assume he had 2 roles, I don't know, but I think one was telling them when to go, and I think the other is he may have been video recording it, because I later found from about 2 years ago this has been a TikTok challenge or some form of it. In unison, the 2 boys began banging on the doors as hard as they possibly could. They used their fists, their knees, their feet. They yelled as loud as they could, as loud and long as they could. They then took off toward Doe Ridge, leaving behind significant damage to my neighbor's door. I called the police. They responded immediately, but the kids got away. The police continued to patrol our neighborhood that night. We appreciated it, and we didn't have any more problems. 2 days later, on Easter Sunday, they got a little more bold. It was 10 p.m. They were back. We think there were possibly 5 of them. We called the police again. In the meantime, my neighbor behind me almost physically caught one of the boys. I was told that there were neighbors in Lakemont that were on foot chasing them. They got away again. The police were patrolling our neighborhood till midnight. I know that because I was sitting on my porch waiting for them to come back, but they did not. So again, we appreciate that, but we still didn't catch them. The next few weekends were a little bit cold, a little chilly. Nothing happened. It was quiet. But they returned 9 days ago, 12:30 a.m., the Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. They kicked in our neighbor's garage door. This time they brought several dozen eggs. They damaged their windows, shutters, screens, cars, and according to these neighbors who saw the kids running away, they were wearing ski masks this time. We are determined to catch these kids. Our neighborhood talks a lot about this quite a bit. We're staying in communication with one another. And there are 3 reasons we want to catch them. One, obviously, is the monetary damage. There's no doubt that collectively it's been thousands of dollars. If you drive up Ashmont, Doe Ridge, Deer Walk, there's a specific house at the corner of Woodgate and Doe Ridge. His garage is kind of diagonal to the road. You'll see it. You'll see the damage to his garage. Most neighbors, understandably, are not doing any repairs until these kids are caught. The second reason, picture yourself in your house hearing this. It sounds like an ambush from 2 different entry points in your home. I've heard these boys standing outside, and when they've been 3, 4, 5 streets probably away, it is loud. And imagine what that's like when you're in your house. I don't want to be overly dramatic about it, but it is terrifying, especially to children, especially to elderly people. The third reason is there are people in Erlanger, as we know, who own guns for protection. If somebody hears this, they're going to think somebody's breaking into their house. And I have one neighbor, he said he keeps a gun on his nightstand. If he heard that, his first instinct is to grab his gun. we want to catch these kids for our sake, but we want to catch them for their sake too. Teenagers who do this kind of thing don't generally think of the potential consequences, and it's apparent that they haven't given any thought at all to the danger that they're potentially putting themselves in, especially now that they're wearing ski masks. As I stated, I don't expect there's much you can do, and we're very appreciative of what the police are doing. We just wanted you to know about it. We hope that we can solve this problem before it escalates. I'm open to questions. I'm open to suggestions. Many neighbors know I'm here tonight, and we're anxious to get this fixed before it gets really out of hand. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I'm a resident of Lakemont, so I've seen the information that's posted on our Facebook page, and it is very nice that we all stay in communication and kind of have a running log of what's going on, because then the police have the running log of what's going on as well. So please make sure anytime there is any kind of sighting of these individuals or any vandalism or what you think might have been vandalism from these individuals, please make sure they're reaching out to the police so that we're continuing to have that tracking. Chief, do you have anything to add?
Assistant Chief Lemming is going to step out and talk to him.
Oh, okay.
When you're finished.
Okay, sure. Fantastic. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Yeah, okay. I appreciate you coming in tonight. Thank you. Okay, that concludes public comment. Mayor's report, I think I've said enough this evening. City Administrator's report, Mr. Glenn.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Just two things real quick. I would like to put a couple things on our caucus meeting for June, kind of both addressing the ad hoc budget committee, a couple of their requests. So one would be the meal policy. So we are working on that currently, staff is. So hopefully next week we'll send out a draft copy, and then that way we can address that and discuss it at the caucus meeting. And secondary, we're going to send out a schedule for next year's budget, as hopefully this tonight concludes this budget round. Kind of like to start working on next budget and start talking about timing and ways that we can better improve it. So if you have any suggestions and stuff like that, I'd like to discuss that at the next caucus meeting as well. So just an attempt to help, not really streamline it, but just kind of address some issues that kind of came up this past time. Thank you.
Ms. Kyle.
I want to thank our new CAO for the little weekly update that he gives us. It makes me feel so much better that I know what's going on in the city. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. City Attorney, Mr. Gatlin.
Just want to welcome Mr. Quinn and Mr. Glenn in their new roles. I've worked with both of these gentlemen in their new roles before they became official in the last few months, and I have really enjoyed working with both of you all from the standpoint that you both have engaged all levels of staff in a lot of decisions as it relates to individual issues in the city, and I think that has been very helpful. So, but I look forward to working with both of you all a lot more.
All right, thank you. Mr. Quinn, do you have anything to report on capital projects?
I do, quite a bit, actually. So TMS has concluded the project at Crescent Avenue and Kenton Lands. All new concrete's been put in, dirt restoration, new asphalt entrance into the parking lot there. Jefferson Construction has completed Sigma, Theta, and Kappa. That project, Theta was the last straw on there, and he finished that this week. Eaton Asphalt is currently still working on Jacqueline Drive, still doing sidewalks and aprons. We have a meeting scheduled with them, I think, next week to determine the rest of the schedule and how this is going to play out. I've been working with Mr. Glenn on that also. Ed Milliken's still working with the Public Works facility over on Montgomery. The ready rock for the retaining wall was delivered today, so you'll start seeing that going in this week. The security fence around the site will be going in this week also, and then they're still working on the detention area. So that's coming along. We're starting to see some, I don't know, it looks like it's taken life over there. It's completely different than what it was when we purchased the property about 1.5 years ago. So Cahill Commons 4-board horse fence has been installed. The privacy fence was starting to be installed today. And the last step of phase 1 will be the landscaping. They are currently have grass seed in and they're watering, so hopefully we'll see some grass. We probably need some rain to help with that, so maybe we'll see some tonight or this weekend. Staff is currently working with VOX for the 23-24 street improvement projects. So with approval tonight of the budget, we'll be able to move forward with that and get that rolling for next year. Staff is also working with Northern Kentucky Water District about Graves Avenue. I was told today that they will have that fixed by, the 16th of June. So Independence Paving is doing that. And then the area out here in front of the city building on Commonwealth, I was told the 20th of June by Mike Flynn from Northern Kentucky Water District that will be replaced. So other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Quinn? Okay. Any other department heads? Chief?
Yeah, so we finally have some good news hiring-wise. We actually had 2 lateral candidates that kind of came out of nowhere, and we hired one. You guys probably saw it on Facebook on Monday. Mr. Fornash, he came from Springfield Township, Ohio. He actually lives local, grew up in the city of Erlanger, so that was kind of a good snag. And then we've got another officer. I'll wait till he gives us 2 weeks before I give the department, but he's going to be a fantastic hire. He has got a lot of experience and training that he's bringing to us, so it's great timing. We've also got 3 recruits that we are looking at. We're in the final stages of background. Everything looks good with them. The only bad news is one goes to the academy in July. That's the good news. The bad news is we looked today for the other 2, and the academy last week had 30 spots. As of this morning, there were only 5, and we do not have... There's no way to get around the wait list. You have to have the background completely finished before you can submit the name to get the academy spot. So if I don't snag 2 of those 5 positions, we don't get those recruits in until January. So we're going to come up with some creative training, I think, to hopefully do some FTO before they go to the academy, so that almost half of next year isn't just kind of on a wait for us. But some really, really good candidates. I think you guys will be very pleased with what you see. So that's it.
Great. It's good news. Chief? Okay. Kara?
I'll make it quick. It's been a busy month in finance with our extra duties, but I will be happy to report that everybody is getting paid now that Ed is no longer here. So I reviewed payroll and everything is good. Christy did an awesome job, including council. So you guys will submit it today. So everything's great. So, but that's my report.
I think everybody appreciates that report. Thank you. Ms. Hoffman?
My report is very similar to Kara's, and with all of the PD's great news, and with the vacancy in the HR, I have started the onboarding process. That just makes me appreciate HR much more. I don't think anybody really realizes just how much that position does until you have to sit down and do it. And just for one person, it's taken me Well, of course, I'm kind of learning through the process, but it's taken me 2 days. I'm sure it probably took Ed, maybe 1 day, but I'm learning a lot, so I really appreciate that position.
I think it's so incredible how you all have stepped up and just taken on these new responsibilities, and nothing's going to skip a beat. And you all are just phenomenal. So thank you. And Chrissy, if Chrissy's watching at home, God bless Chrissy. All right. Any questions for our department heads? Okay. Oh, sure.
I just wanted to thank everyone for an awesome Touch a Truck event. My son he always has the best time because he thinks that dump trucks and fire engines and police cars are just the coolest thing in the entire world. And it was so well attended, and there were enough giveaways for everybody, and it was just, I very much enjoyed it. I know it was hot as can be, and having the fire hoses and just the full experience, I think, is wonderful for our community, and I thank you guys very much for all of it. I know there was a lot of work that goes into it that may not be known or seen by the public. It's so appreciated by our community, so thank you.
Hey, I wanted to give a shout out to you because I've heard some really awesome things coming out of the Summer Send-Off 5K. What an awesome idea, and there's so much excitement generated by it. Tri-State Running, I mean, if you want to tell a little bit about it. Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot.
So this year, I was working with now CAO Glenn and city staff to potentially revive the Erlanger Friendship City 5K, and we have decided to rename it as part of the summer send-off event. So that event will happen in the morning, and there will also be like a kids fun run with it. So it'll be like a standard 5K, like in conjunction with our summer send-off festivities. So title sponsor is Erlanger House, of course, for summer send-off, and we've got some other wonderful community sponsors that we will be reaching out to be engaged in the finish line festivities. Just very, very excited that this is coming to fruition and that there's interest. We're hoping for tons and tons of runners. So save the date for September
23rd.
Are you saying 23rd? 23rd? 23rd. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for taking that on.
Are we,
Mayor.
cool. I have a question. Rebecca, right, National Running Day is tomorrow. Are we announcing that tomorrow? Do you know? I set up the profile. I know I've been working with Kim and Running Time. Wasn't that our plan to put that out tomorrow?
That was the plan.
Okay.
So we'll work with
yes,
Kim.
So we will get it out
morning.
on social media, I think, tomorrow.
Okay. You work with Jesse?
Yes, I'm the one that's taken all the bibs, so we make sure we got all the money, so.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I think we're announcing that tomorrow, so stay tuned.
It's not like you don't have a few things to do. You're such a rock star.
I was asked, or I've been asked a couple times this week, there is a lot of interest in this. What is the fee to?
I think it's 15.
Okay.
25 with the t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yes.
15 or 25 if you want a t-shirt.
Yes.
Chief, do you want to say what you're planning on doing with your team? Or is it not?
So we added a little twist to it. Our department PT test is always in October. So this year we made a deal with all of the officers that if they participate and complete the 5K, they can do that in lieu of the PT test in October. So
Did you
it
budget for
should be
this?
a very, do what?
Did you budget for this?
Doesn't cost us anything.
It's $15.
That was the joke today. That's why I asked how much money it was, because that was the joke. Everybody wanted to know how much it was going to cost them to not have to take the PT test this year. So yeah, it should be a very safe event.
Yeah, no workers' comp injuries.
Oh my God. They're not going to be in uniform.
They would not be within the course or scope of their employment running.
There we go. There we go.
Not that that stops anyone
Thank you,
before
attorney.
from weightlifting or whatever and filing claims.
No, I think it's an awesome way to engage your team, and I'm sure there'll be some nice team building that'll happen during that process. So very cool. So I encourage everybody to participate in whatever level that you can. You can always walk a 5K. So, yeah. All right. Reports from task forces. Ms. Nicely?
I'll make it real quick because I know we want to get out of here, so I won't be long-winded. On May 17th, the Fire and EMS Task Force met, and we came to the conclusion that we are going to end the task force that was existing, but we're going to follow the new guidelines and apply for opening up a new task force with a different mission and starting and sunsetting at a certain time. So I'm excited about that. We'll get with the chief and everyone else that's on staff that's been supportive, and Tyson, Councilman Tyson's been on that, Hermie's been on that as well. So I'm excited. So we're going to end one, follow the correct guidelines, and apply to open a new one. Thank you.
That is awesome. Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate that. I think our discussion 2 weeks ago when we talked about like the qualifications of a task force and following the special meetings laws, I think that went a long way to making sure that we're complying with state law and our city municipal order that you all passed, what, 2 years ago, 4 years ago? So, yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I'll turn it on.
Sure.
And we weren't doing anything wrong, but I think we started it when Gary Meyer was here. We were continuing. We weren't real clear with the mission. We didn't have a lot of following. So it's just to clean it up. We weren't doing anything wrong. As a task force, I wanted to go on the record to say that. It's just having a clear-cut goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The original intent of task forces was to have a particular task, almost like a project team. So having a beginning and an ending and having smart goals set. So yeah, very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, any other task force? Mr. Hermes?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Earlier this evening, we had a Parks Task Force meeting, and we are, I think, finally ready to resolve the ordinance and the permit process for the runners, the running group at Flagship Park. And what we would look forward to doing is having a first reading of that revised ordinance regarding Erlanger Parks next month, and then having a vote on it in August. That would be the plan. But the next meeting for the Parks Task Force will be July 11th at 5:30 in the small council chambers. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. All right. Ms. Reckers?
Is July 11th the rescheduled date for the 4th of July
Yes.
council meeting? Okay.
Yeah. I think we have to do it as a special meeting, right, Sherry? Yes. Okay. So we'll have to be very detailed with our agenda. All right. Ms. Hoffman, are there any bids this evening?
Yes, there are. There's two of them. The first one is the fire and EMS trench drain. The other is the IT support RFP.
Mr. Quinn, you going to take the trench drain?
Yes, Firehouse 1 trench drain. We had one bidder, it was K&W Mechanical, came in at $186,729. Just a little history about the project. That was going to be the three trench drains in Firehouse 1 are compromised. They are failing. They are a hazard currently. It was also to include an oil separator and the apron out in front of Firehouse 1. This came well over what we estimated the cost to be, so we have declined the bid of $186,000. With that, though, we are working with Ellesmere Ironworks to shore up the drains for the safety of our firefighters as they go in and out of that bay, and we expect that to be completed this month. So.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Mr. Quinn? All right.
Okay.
The IT support?
IT support. Okay, so over recent months, going probably back to earlier this year, the city, in conjunction with PDS, put out a professional IT service contract RFP, and as part of that, we received 5 proposals. And this kind of, as the transition between Bill and myself happened, so once I got on board, I reviewed all the proposals, and then we kind of brought some firms in to talk about what the proposals entailed and how they were structured. So long story short, we decided to go with LK Tech, which is the IT service provider that we currently have. And they're well within our budget, and actually their services, we better defined their services, we got some better services, and the cost of all those services went down $2,400 annually. So got a little bit of a savings as well. So we're going to go forward with them. Any questions? Great, thank you.
All right. Does anybody have any unfinished business? Okay, is there any new business? Ms. Nicely?
I would like to request to have someone put on July's regular council meeting as a presenter. I was approached by Rick Worth from the CEO of the Children's Home of Northern Kentucky and Behavioral Health, and he asked to be a presenter of one of our meetings. And I know this meeting was full, so he was requesting if he could be on the agenda to present in July.
I would love to be able to talk to you offline about that because he has a very specific request, and I've had conversations, and I would like to be able to have a conversation with you about his specific request.
Okay, and I know what you're talking about, too. I was just bringing it up. I figure it was my due diligence if somebody asked us to come in front of council to do so, and it would be up to council to move forward. So, yes, I'll be happy to talk to you off of that. But I was just thinking that's what the elected officials are supposed to do, is come in front of council and the public and bring up when someone asks to come to a council meeting and be a presenter.
Okay.
We'll talk about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Any other new business? Ms. Wilson?
I would like to make a comment about the behavioral health. I went to the mental health summit in Louisville last week, and I was very proud to be in Erlanger. This city has been used is being used as a model for having social worker, and I was just so proud, because we do have a social worker here in this fine city of Erlanger, and what is being promoted is to have more counselors for mental health, to decriminalizing mental health, to lift it up as an illness and not a crime. And so when they kept mentioning Erlanger having a social worker, I said, yay. So keep up the good work, and I look forward to hearing more great things of our great city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. I don't know if a lot of you know, but Becky does travel around the state advocating for the police social worker position, and then not only advocates for the position, but then if the city wants to get one started, she walks them through the process and really makes sure that they will have the success that we've seen here in Erlanger. So it's a very wonderful program, and for her to be able to spread that across the state is pretty special. So thank you. It's good to hear that the word is spreading. Okay. Any other new business? Okay. All right. Got a few more pieces of legislation. and then we'll get you out of here.
It's an ordinance to the City of Erlanger and Kenton County, Kentucky, establishing a personnel pay and classification plan for all Erlanger employees and non-elected city officials. Attached is the spreadsheet which outlines the new pay band ranges, as well as several new positions. Again, what is struck through is what is being changed, what is underlined is being added. It's a pretty standard yearly housekeeping issue to adjust these pay bands.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this ordinance as read? Ms. Reckers, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Nicely?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reckers?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hermes?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kyle?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Okay, motion carried.
Sorry. Next, we have an ordinance to the City of Erlanger and Kenton County, Kentucky, adopting a budget for the City of Erlanger for the fiscal year beginning on July 1, 2023, and providing that no money shall be expended by or on behalf of the City of Erlanger except in accordance with that adopted budget. Attached to the ordinance is the spreadsheet which presents the budget in a summary format.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this ordinance as read? Ms. Jasper Lucas, Ms. Reckers, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Nicely?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kyle?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hermes?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reckers?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carried.
All right, next we have an ordinance of the City of Erlanger and Kenton County, Kentucky, approving and adopting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances of the city. Another housekeeping issue. This adopts ordinances through 2553. So it would be ordinances 2542 to 2553, which would have been ordinances adopted within the last year, are now part of the Erlanger Code of Ordinances.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this ordinance as read? Ms. Kyle, Ms. Reckers, any discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Kyle?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Jasper Lucas?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Wilson? Ms. Nicely?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reckers?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skidmore?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hermes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, motion carried.
All right, next we have an ordinance of the City of Erlanger and Kenton County, Kentucky, amending ordinance number 2548, further clarifying and restricting the $5 million transferred in 2022 from unreserved funds to the capital fund. This modifies the ordinance that was adopted last year, which created the $5 million transfer. This creates a separate line item which would be titled the Gary Meyer Emergency Fund, and it also further restricts that fund that it should only be used for capital purchases as defined herein, which are the items enumerated 1 through 11, only if one of the following occur: a natural disaster of act of God that significantly impacts city assets, and utilizing money from the fund is the only way to avoid a significant reduction in city services, or upon a vote of the majority of council. This is just a first reading.
Okay, Ms. Hoffman, if you can please note in the minutes the first reading of this ordinance.
All right, next we have a municipal order of the City of Erlanger and Kenton County, Kentucky, making the written determinations required by
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Ms. Kyle?
Yeah, I have a question about that. I'm confused. The items that we have, because I went back to the original ordinance, the items that are listed are the same, is that correct? Okay, so the only reason we're adding this is to state that it's for an emergency, is that correct?
Well, in the items in section 3.0, so the real changes are what's in section 3.0.
Okay.
That it has to be for one of those 11 items, but only if it's a natural disaster or act of God that significantly impacts city assets, and utilizing that money from this fund is the only way to avoid a significant reduction or upon a vote of the majority of council.
So even if there's not a disaster, the council could vote to put it back where they got it, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Because I thought we already had that right to do that, that's why I'm questioning that.
You do?
So, I mean, do we need that in there? That's what I'm asking.
The reason we had put upon the vote of the majority of council is more so like if there's something, Mr. Clare actually had mentioned earlier, what if something like what happened in New Palestine happened here, where a train derailment happens and it causes a big fire, and we could determine that, well, okay, that's not a natural disaster and that's not act of God, but that's something that might require us to either replace or put money into
The unreserved general
capital,
fund?
into
Okay.
the capital, yes.
All right, I was just curious, because I thought the change was supposed to be in those 11, and I'm like, there's not a change there. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Ms. Reckers?
I think I'd like to have additional discussion on this one, actually. Even though it's first reading, I'd like to talk about it at the caucus meeting. I'm not really in support of overly restricting. We all voted for various reasons when we initially voted to move the $5 million. And I'd like to have additional discussion, or I can save it for the second reading. But if we can take it to caucus, I'd like to do that, because it needs additional dialogue, I think. Thank you.
Put it on the caucus meeting. It's a more appropriate time to have a discussion. Cool. All right, we'll add it to the agenda.
All right, next we have a municipal order of the City of Erlanger in Kenton County, Kentucky, making the written determinations required by KRS 82083 for the sale or other disposition of property owned by the city. Attached are the items that are being disposed of. A 2014 Dodge Durango, due to age, mileage, and condition, is being sold by electronic auction, and various street signs are being sold for scrap.
Do I entertain a motion that we adopt this municipal order as read? Ms. Reckers and Ms. Kyle, any discussion? Ms. Jasper Lucas?
I know it's odd to have a question about surplus stuff, but I happened to think when I saw that it was street signs, would there be any opportunity to sell those? Just because
Peter Glenn.
I'll answer that.
I wonder, I don't know if we can, but like, I just thought, oh my gosh, I wonder if they're replacing the sign on Edgar Court. I would love to have that, because that's where I grew up. And I wondered, I'm always thinking, how can we make more money? Is there an opportunity to make some money rather than just selling these for scrap?
Yeah, that's something we're looking into, having a program where we can sell the street IDs to the public. We're working out the details with Jack as far as how we can really do that, and then and we're hoping to make it a fundraiser for the E-Angel program as well. So definitely, that's what we're looking.
So even if we make them scrap, we can still...
Yeah, what you're doing tonight is you're basically, council is giving the authority to surplus them for scrap, but then Public Works can
do what they need. Okay, that's fine. I just thought that when I saw it, I thought people, unfortunately steal signs sometimes, and this is an opportunity for them to get it legally.
Yeah, we've actually had several internal discussions on that, and there might be 5 to 10 signs that we can sell and raise some money, but the other 100 or so signs, we at least want to have the opportunity to sell for scrap.
Okay. Mr. Hermes?
I'd like to motion to keep this thing moving.
Okay. Well, thank you. Do I have a second? Ms. Reckers? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Finally is a resolution. This is really all related to this year's road fund and a requirement for cities to kind of repledge and readopt city streets. So the attached Appendix A is just, again, renumerating that those roads are a part of the city road system, and Appendix B are roads that are not a part of the city road system. Did I miss anything? Either? All right.
Okay, do I entertain a motion that we adopt this resolution as read? Mr. Hermes, Ms. Kyle, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Any announcements this evening? All right. Do I entertain a motion that we adjourn? Ms. Jasper Lucas, Ms. Nicely, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Have a good evening.